Okay, Rabbi, we have a big day ahead of us. We have today the Geschmack Rambam Bez Hashem and some Geschmack Raid in general. But let's just make a little bit clarity, Klape, what we ended yesterday's share with. The truth is Klape, what we started yesterday's share with. I'm now aware that this is the issue, apparently, with the Starbucks. I'll call them restaurants. In other words, there's the Starbucks kiosk for the Mavinim, and then there's the Starbucks service centers or restaurants or whatever that they sell over there, all types of chazarai, v'chule. And then they have the kiosk where they just have, they just sell like at a rest stop or something where they just sell coffee and basic. The difference basically is that at the service stations, at the ones that are restaurants that are serving sandwiches, et cetera, so those, they have kalim and they use the dishwasher. And now that you're hearing that the dishwasher, when it's getting washed with all their kalim and all their plates and all their chazei, so then at the bottom of this dishwasher is a chazer soup, which is getting shot out. All of that juice is getting shot out. And I don't think anybody would want to eat that. I think that that's for sure. We would all understand that could certainly be a problem. We have different coolers of the Vela juice of maybe because it's pogim, etc. But I don't think that Rabbi Witowski, I don't think that you'd want to eat such a thing, bichlal, from what I remember of you, and therefore I don't think anybody would want to eat that. Elamai, but Masha'en came when it comes to the little kiosk. No, nothing's going to help. Disposable cups and all these things won't help because they got washed together. The kli itself that makes the coffee in it got washed together in a dishwasher. So there, it's basically a nevela soup, which is shooting out an irui kli rishon all over this dishwasher, and it's shooting it onto the kli, which eventually is going to be making your kosher coffee, which obviously would make your coffee non-kosher. So that's why you'd have to stay away from having a coffee in these places. Mashen Kain, if a person wants to know about the kiosk and those, so there they don't sell sandwiches, they don't sell all these things. They don't have a dishwasher inside there. So they're generally not using that type of matziv, and therefore you go back to the regular coffee house type of a terim. And of course you have to worry about that I'm not getting involved, that each person has to find out what are the, if the flavors have echsherim, what about chalav Yisrael, et cetera, et cetera. So now, Shatz Tzchak, if the person's on the road, is there a malkim to be makel? I suppose there is a malkim to be makel, but it's not exactly so pashit. Not exactly so pashit. So Rabbi Slansky says that you can ask them to take the piece out of the machine. I'm very nervous about that because Kafi, what I've looked into today, which is limited, I must admit, but it won't necessarily help the gamre because that piece over there was very close to an irui klirishin of hot water that was coming out onto it the second before you took it off, which means that basically there was hot water which was touching that piece, which was treif, and touching at the same time the machine. And that means that now when the hot water is going to come through on the machine, it definitely possibly has blias of the treif zachin. It's not gavaldic. It's not gavaldic. And does it do a self clean? When you buy 2 coffees, let's say, etc. These are all shilas that aren't so simple. It's certainly not lechatchila, and certainly in town there's no shilah, you shouldn't drink it. And the question is, if the person's on the road and it's either that or falling asleep, so then he should probably go to sleep and take a nap on the side of the road and not endanger the lives of everybody else because you think that coffee is going to work. But al kapanim, it's definitely not a lechatchila. Definitely not a lechatchila. That's number one. Number two is that we spoke yesterday about the shaila of liquids in general. And this is a very big sugya. Liquids in general, are you allowed to put liquids inside a kli sheni? We're going to learn today about liquids inside a kli rishon and irui from liquids onto a kli rishon, onto a irui of a kli rishon onto liquids that are uncooked liquids. But the shaila that we dealt with yesterday is, what's the din of a non-cooked liquid? Can I put a non-cooked liquid in a kli sheni? To put a non-cooked liquid in a kli rishon, that's for sure aser. Water, you can't put it in a kli rishon. Anything, oil, you can't put in a kli rishon. That's for sure aser. You want to take water and you want to put it inside. You have a boiling hot chicken soup, and you want it to make it a little bit colder or something or whatever. You're not allowed to take cold water from the sink and put it inside a kli rishon. That's an issa gomer, and we pass it's even an issa deraisa. That's kli rishon. Kli sheni was what we discussed yesterday. Irui kli rishon, that we're going to see in a moment. That really be paskin And that's the Shulchan Aruch that brings down over here in Sif Yud that we're machmir. Even actually Sif Yud Beis, excuse me, we're machmir like the shita of the Tosfos that Rabbeinu Tam said that cham in the Toch Tzainin is mashma, that if you have the tzainin on the bottom and you have a situation of where you're pouring in boiling hot water into a liquid, so we are machmir. We are machmir. Vaday tzrichen lachish l'das Tosfos, says the Beis Meir, and lesser kli rishon elim kain. We'll see in a moment, unless the result is not going to be yatzaledis by the hainu. If I'm going to take boiling hot water and pour it into a liquid, and the result is not going to result in a yatzaledis by, you're pouring in so much, you're pouring in so little, iroi kli rishon, you're pouring in so little hot water from an iroi kli rishon. Let's say I have my urn and I want to pour boiling hot water into a cup of baby milk that wasn't cooked yet or something, mother's milk or something like that. And I want to go straight from the urn. Are you allowed to go straight from the urn into the mother's milk? To put the mother's milk straight into a kli rishon, even if there's a hefsek keli, that's mefurish in Shulchan Aruch and Sif Yud Gimel, that's us. To take the hot water from the urn, which is an irei kli rishon, and pour it straight into the uncooked liquid. So it depends. If the result is going to be that you have non-yatzaledis by, that even after I pour in the boiling hot water, it's not going to, I'm not pouring in enough hot water. Basically, the ratio of cold water underneath is enough that it's going to counter out the hot water on top, and it's going to make it that the resultant mixture is not going to be yatzaledis by. So therefore, the iroi gets cooled down immediately. And then afterward, the result is not going to be a klisheni because it's going to be non-yatzaledis by. So that's also going to be permitted. Very negayah, by say. You have a baby bottle and you want to pour inside of it some hot water, you're allowed to go straight from the urn. And mother's milk is parav, so you're allowed to go straight from the urn, as long as you know that the resultant mixture is not going to be yatzaledis by. This is first in the Shulchan Aruch. This is first in the Shulchan Aruch and Sif Yud Beis over here. Now, I did see an interesting thing from Reb Falk, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, that it sounds like an interesting thing. I'll read it to you. He says that as a result of this halacha, it would be halachically mutter when you're preparing washing up water by filling a bowl with cold water and then pouring boiling hot water into it. That's what we just said, that it's mutter to take boiling hot water and pour it into cold water if you know that the result is going to be just warm. It's not going to be outside by. He says, however, it's not advisable to do so since people certainly want washing up water to be as warm as possible. Therefore, there's a considerable danger that is going to overstep his mark and pour enough hot water into the cold water that the overall temperature will reach yatzaledis by. This is a gzeira that Rafalk made up on his own. It's certainly not meshubah to this gzeira. He doesn't bring any makor for it, and it's a little bit of a tzarchin. It's mefurish in the Mishabura and all the Paiskim and the Gemara came out. Not came out in the first. It's mefurish in the Gemara that you're allowed to take hot water and pour hot water into cold water if the resultant amount is going to be not yatzaledis by. Because besides the irei, there's no problem because the irei gets cooled down. The irei also takes a second to cook. And by the time the irei is cooking, it already has cooled down. Elamai, now it's inside the kli. The kli won't be yatzaledis by, so it won't even be considered a kli sheni. Now, Rafal's gzeira, he himself realizes, he himself admits, is not going to apply by a case of a baby bottle because there's nobody in the world that's going to put in enough hot water into the baby bottle that it's not going to be, that it's going to be yatzaledis by because you want to feed it to a baby that you like. So therefore, you don't have to worry, Rabbi Bokler, and you could take the boiling hot water and put it straight into the uncooked baby bottle because for sure the resultant is not going to be yatzaledis by. What am I being asked, Rabbi Spira? And Sif Kat and Pei? Shabura? That's different. There he might forget it there. You should be arrested, Rabbi Spira. There, he's putting the water in a place where if he leaves it there, so then it's going to cook. If he leaves it there, then it's going to cook. Here, he's in the process of pouring in the water. And we know that he knows what to do. He knows to pour in enough hot water that the resultant mixture should be yatzaledis by, right? In certain states, you would be arrested unless you would be looting, and then they would let you off. Al Kapanim, the Maisa, so that's interesting. Falco is a great man, but it's a chiddush. It's a chiddush. Akapanim, that's a chiddush that you don't find. Akapanim, that's the pshat. I mean, you see in Shulchan Aruch first. The Shulchan Aruch is the first. That what I just said is mutter. I just said is mutter. I'll just read it to you. The Shulchan Aruch here in Sifyud Beis. Mecham shepina mimena mayim. That's a kli rishon. That's a ira kli rishon, right? Mecham shepina mimena mayim. Mutter litein letoichai mayim sign. And here it goes both ways. Here we're talking about we have a kli rishon, and the halacha is you're allowed to take a kli rishon and pour in it cold water. You're allowed to go both directions. You're allowed to take a boiling hot kli rishon and pour in cold water, or a boiling hot kli rishon and pour it onto cold water, so long as the resultant mixture is going to be kedei lafshiran. If you're going to do it in an oifen where you're just going to make the resultant mixture under yad saledispai, umuter lotzuk mayim chamim, you're allowed to pour boiling hot water into mayim tzainin v'hu shelo yeh b'kli rishon v'neisha mischamimin harbe. Says the Rama, mayim merubim kol kach sheyafshu yizbashlu. If you put in enough cold water that the water won't cook, right? Rak yafigu tzinasan, it's just going to make it warm. So then afilu b'kli rishon shari. That it shouldn't be on a fire. You can't do this on the H because, like we said, like Rabbi Spiro showed us, that we have to be afraid that it's going to perhaps maybe wind up getting cooked over there, and that's the Xeris Hefsher. Ice cubes in soup, we're going to hold off on that because that has to do with the sugya of Noilud. But mitzad our sugya, so then it would be totally in if you put in enough ice cubes that it's going to cool it down to the extent that it'll be under Yad Saledispai when you put them in. If by the resultant mixture is going to be under Yad Saledispai, and probably here you have to be machmer on what's called Yad Saledispai, which we didn't see that the exact shiurim in the Shem, that's probably coming tomorrow. What's the exact amount of Yad Saledispai? But I'll call Panim Rabbi Isai. So that's the etzem halacha. This is a very, very important thing, very important halacha. When you're mixing cold water and hot water, the halacha is if you take boiling hot water and pour it onto cold water, so then the halacha is if the resultant mixture would be under Yad Saledispai mutter. Who then vice versa, cold water into Yad Saledispai. If the resultant mixture is going to be under Yad Saledispai, so then it's going to be mutter. If it'll be more than Yad Saledispai, we hold that Iroi is mevashal like they klipa. That's how we started this issue. That's what we saw. So therefore, if you want to take boiling hot water and pour it into the mother's milk, so then normal human beings are not going to make it that the mother's milk is going to be boiling hot. So generally that's going to be mutter. However, let's say you have a little apple juice or a little orange juice. Let's say uncooked for a second. Let's say uncooked apple juice or uncooked orange juice, freshly squeezed or whatever. And you want to make like some type of a fake tea matzah, some fake hot drink over here. So you want to know, can I take boiling hot water and put it into a tiny amount of orange juice or a tiny amount of apple juice? So that's what it says here in Shulchan Aruch, that we are machmir. And even though there would have been a svara, and that's really the svara of the Rashba, and that's the svara of the Ran, there would have been a svara to say that when I'm taking boiling hot water and I'm pouring it onto a small amount of liquid, when does Iroi mevashal? Iroi is going to be mevashal a solid. Because when I take boiling hot water and I pour it onto, let's say, spices or something like that, or slivers of something, so then it could cook it could take klipa. But masha'enke, when you take boiling hot water and you pour it onto a liquid, there would have been a svara to say that even if the result is going to be more than Yad Saledispai, but who says it has the ability to be mevashal? Because what is it mevashal in Iroi? It's mevashal kedei klipa. So what happens? The kedei klipa gets mixed right away. So there could have been a svara to say that taket's mutter, and that is really why, if you did do this b'di eved, the Mishabura brings down over here, the Bir Lacha, a base mayor, that b'di eved, if you take boiling hot water and you pour it onto orange juice. This was a Maisa Shahaya in my house a few years ago, that somebody took a lemon juice and thought that they were allowed, because the lemon juice was uncooked. Excuse me, they thought the lemon juice was cooked, and they thought that they were allowed to take the boiling hot water and pour it straight on the lemon juice. Now, it happens to be that lemon juice, even if it's cooked, you would not be allowed to do this, because we hold yesh bishul achar bishul b'davar lach. So therefore, the fact that it's cooked, it doesn't make a difference. But lemaisa, in this case, it was even worse. The lemon juice was actually not cooked. It happens to be in this case that the lemon juice was actually not even cooked. So therefore, you would have thought, now this is for sure a problem. You're taking boiling hot water, irikli rishon, and pouring it onto lemon juice. That's pretty bad. So the halacha is mefurish in the bir halacha. He brings a base mayor. B'diavad yesh loymar linas daiti. He can be seimich on the Rashba and the Ran that they hold chamin l'teichsainin is always mutter, even chamin merubim. And even though the Svar is Kasha, he says, but the Evid were Makel. And the Svar is like I explained to you, that the only thing it's Mavashal is Kedei Klipa. But over here, it can't be Mavashal or Kedei Klipa because it gets mixed right away. The liquid, can we say something is Mavashal or Kedei Klipa? When you have a solid, so it's Mavashal, the outside layer. But over here, it doesn't have the ability to be Mavashal Kedei Klipa. So therefore, Halach L'maisa, you never could take a boiling hot liquid, Iroi Klirishin, and ever pour it into any liquid, not a cooked liquid, not an uncooked liquid. You can never go from an iri klirishin and pour it into an uncooked liquid or a cooked liquid. But b'diavad, we're never going to answer the idea. The only time, even water, you're not allowed to do that. L'chatchila for sure, you're not allowed to do that. The only time we're saying it's mutter to do is if the resultant mixture is going to be under Yad Saledis. But that's pashit in the halacha, what comes out there. I didn't say any chedushim. That's mefurish in the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishabur. Is that crystal clear? If the iri hits first in the sides of the cup. So that let me talk about in a moment. That's not going to help much. Rabbi Lieberman is asking, let's say I take the boiling hot water and I pour it on the side of the cup, and then it goes down after it had hit the side of the cup. But being that we learned already that it's loy nifsaka kiluach, since it was loy nifsaka kiluach, it has the din of a iroi of a klirishin, which we saw that's what it says in the Ramah, Kopanim in Yeridei and Sivan Sadi Beis. That has a din of irish leinim sakakeluach is still considered a klirishin, which is why we were machmir on the faucet shaila, on the sink shaila. So kipshutai, it's not going to help us much. Kipshutai, it's not going to help us much, and kipshutai, it's not going to help us much. That's l'chayr. Now, both hands on the road, Rabbi Buchler. You're on a bridge. Now, lemaisa, it comes out like this, Rabbi Say. So we just said, going back now to the case of an uncooked milk or an uncooked liquid. So we know, put it in a kli rishain aser. To take a baby bottle, and even if it's, let's say uncooked milk or cooked milk, whatever it is, but to take a baby bottle, cooked milk, uncooked milk, and to take it in the baby bottle and put it in a kli rishain, you have a pot, which is on the fire, and you wanted to use it to heat up your baby bottles. That's why you specifically set aside this pot or whatever. And now you take it off of the, you put it, it's not on the fire, and you put this baby bottle inside of it. That's an Isser Gomer. Right? Hold off on childless for a moment, everybody. So let me say first the Pashat Halacha. But I'll try to get that child in a second. Upon him, if you take a baby bottle and you put it, even whether it's cooked liquid, uncooked liquid, and you put it in a klirishin, that's for sure. To take a baby bottle and to pour boiling hot water on the outside of the baby bottle, that should be mutter. Who knows why? Why should that be mutter? To pour it on outside, that should be mutter. Why? Because the ira is only mevashal kedei klipa. It's only mevashal the shell's worth, and therefore, since it's only mevashal the klipa, what's the klipa over here? The bottle, the plastic bottle. And there's obviously no bishul klape the bottle. So klape the liquid, no problem. Klape the bottle, no problem. Afterward, it sits inside a klisheni. Now it's sitting inside the Nagel Vasser cup. So that's mefurish in Shulchan Aruch in Sif Yud Gimel, that if you have boiling hot water of a klisheni and there's a baby bottle or some type of bottle inside it, even if the liquid, whatever type of liquid it is uncooked, that does not cook. So far we know a few yediyas. We know that to take a liquid and put it into a kli rishin, usher, if the resultant mixture is going to be yad saledis. To take a liquid and put it inside a kli rishin, and it's in a hefsek of a kli, a baby bottle, usher. So a kli rishin is off limits. Bain if the liquid is cooked, bain if the liquid is not cooked. The only time we're making, I'm saying very simple things, but I want to be masada de halacha, so make sure everything is clear. So if it's not clear, please tell me. But don't ask questions for a moment. Just make sure, tell me if it's not clear. Kli rishin, always usher. Bain if it's in a baby bottle, bain if it's straight into the liquid, bain if it's a previously cooked liquid, bain if it's not a previously cooked liquid. The only time it's ever going to be mutter inside a kli rishin is if the resultant mixture is going to be not yad saledis by, and then avada you didn't cook, so that's going to be mutter. That's number one. Now, we'll see in a moment. When you pour it in, the Mishabura says in the Chayadim and Sivkot and Pei Gimel that when you're pouring into a kli rishin, you better pour it in very, very fast. If you want to do a resultant mixture of a not yet saledis by, but every few seconds that go by, you're cooking. So you have to make sure that you pour it in one big schwung, and therefore, but we'll see in Mitzvah Shem. Let's hold off on that, but let's see. That's number one. Number two. excuse me. Number two is if you have a irui from a kli rishon, let's go in order. Irui from a kli rishon. So if I pour from an irui kli rishon and the resultant mixture will not be yatzaledis by, okay, that's good. That we said is good, and that you're allowed to do. Okay, but I'll upon him. But let's say I'm pouring it a irui kli rishon, bain if it's a cooked liquid, bain if it's a not cooked liquid. So bidi aved row is going to be makel. Right, but you're not allowed to do it l'chatchila, bein cooked, bein not cooked, if the resultant mixture is going to be yatzaledis. And that's why the case of the lemon juice, you're not allowed to take the urn and pour it straight onto the lemon juice, bein if it's cooked, bein if it's not cooked, as long as the mixture is going to be a yatzaledis. That's case number two. Within that case, what if I'm pouring it onto a baby bottle or the sorts? I'm pouring it onto a baby bottle that has a liquid. Let's say, bain if it's a cooked liquid, bain if it's an uncooked liquid, it's going to be mutter because ira is only mivashal kadei klipa. Now it's going to sit in a klisheni. So now this is the next level. What's the din of klisheni? Klisheni, we say, will never cook. We know a few things. We know a klisheni can't cook water. We know the Gemara says a klisheni can't cook oil. We know a klisheni can't cook a kli that is holding water or oil. Of course not, because even water and oil is not a problem. Says the Shulchan Aruch, a kli sheni can't cook, a kli sheni can't cook a bottle that has any liquid in it. So these are all the things that we know that are mefurish in Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah. Is that crystal clear? So if I want to know, can I take a baby bottle, bain cooked milk, bain uncooked milk, and I want to know, can I pour boiling hot water and let it sit in a nagel vasa schlitzel so that it should heat up for the baby? As long as it's not submerged, because then you have a problem of atmana, it is permitted. That's all mefurish in Shulchan Aruch. Yesterday, we donned the shaila, which was not mefurish in Shulchan Aruch. Or maybe is mefurish in Shulchan Aruch. Depends who you ask. What's the shaila? The shaila is, what's the din abaisai of taking milk, which was not pasteurized, or apple juice or orange juice or any other liquid, which was not cooked? What's the din of taking a non-cooked liquid and putting it in a kli sheni? So our first reaction should be that, what do you mean? Everything is also in a kli sheni. Whatever the Gemara said mefurish is mutter, is mutter. Whatever the Gemara said mefurish, it did not say it's mefurish mutter. You have to assume we can't put inside a kli sheni. What would be a great example of this? L'chayra, uncooked milk, which would be a great example of this, right? Or apple juice, or orange juice, or lemon juice. And then it would come out, tremendous nafkamina, if I have uncooked lemon juice, right? Rabbi Rosenberg is asking me, do they have unpasteurized milk? I see that Rabbi Rosenberg does not live on a farm. I have a Talmud who is right now on a farm hiding from Corona. He'd rather be with chickens and other livestock, etc. And he's there and he makes his own milk. They have their own milk. That's true. And Rabbi Lieberman, who's from Gateshead, is writing to me right now. He doesn't know what you're asking. He has a cow in his backyard. So therefore, Rabbi Marcus Bishul doesn't know what you're talking about. Right? I'm not going to say he shares a room, but the room next door. But there is such a concept out there of pasteurized milk. And everybody say, you're living in a world that, we don't know what the liberals are going to decide tomorrow. They might decide that milk that's pasteurized is a problem, and then they might start making you all drink milk that's not pasteurized. So don't ask questions when the world is run by liberals. So let's leave it. So when it comes to milk, goat milk also, Rabbi Danziger is getting all excited about over here. So you could certainly have milk which isn't pasteurized. But what about lemon juice? What about lemon juice? You want to know, can I take lemon juice and put it into my kli sheni, the first cup that came out of the urn, and I want to put inside of it lemon juice? Ma dinai, and let's say the lemon juice is not cooked, because we all know we have a limit from the Mishnah Berurah about 5 times. Mishnah Berurah told us a cooked liquid, a previously cooked liquid, you certainly could put inside a kli sheni. And this is the reason why, before we continue, l'chayra, for sure, if the milk is pasteurized, you could say milk on the shitas, and you could put the pasteurized milk into your coffee cup. Number one, we're going to see in a minute, it's not so pashut. It could be, you could put any liquid in a kli sheni. Number two, pasteurized might be considered cooked. Number three, the whole chumrah of kli sheni is a chumrah. So therefore, there's nothing to discuss on certain things. Water, you can put in a kli sheni. Oil, you can put in a kli sheni. Pasteurized milk, the regular milk, you can put in a kli sheni. In a vessel, in a place like a baby bottle, you can put in a kli sheni. Our shaila is specifically one thing. Can I put a non-cooked liquid that's not water, it's not oil, and that's not pasteurized, can I put her inside a klisheni when the resultant mixture is not going to be a yad saledis boy, like lemon juice, which is a very common case, or you want to put some grape juice in there because you want to make like some type of some type of a grape tea or something like that, like a grape drink, something like that, something like that. And let's say the grape juice isn't pasteurized or something like that, right? Let's say Rabbi Zinger, he wants to get the baby to stop crying. So what does he do? He takes a little wine and he puts it in. The wine is non-mavishal wine, and he puts it inside a baby bottle of hot water, of a klisheni, of a baby bottle. Tzvia ba'oichlin. Okay, but we saw yesterday that Mikra Din we paskin ain't tzvia ba'oichlin. No, salacha l'maisa. What could we do? Are we allowed to put inside the klisheni non-cooked liquids? Now, our first reaction, Rabbi Yisai, should be it's aser. That should be our first reaction. Why in the world would it be mutter? We're machmer and kol davar when it comes to a klisheni. And the truth is that when you look in the tzlach, like I said yesterday, you get a shocking pella. He says, taking milk, which was not cooked, and putting it inside your klisheni, inside your coffee cup. He says, I'm safek skila. He's worried maybe skila. And the Tiferes Yisrael, the Kallus of Shabbos, he says first that such a thing is aser. And I saw it brought down by many Svarim, Shmir Shabbos, Hilchos included. He brings down, listen, the Mishnah Berurah Shita, the Shmir Shabbos is in the 173rd Ara. He says the Mishnah Berurah Shita is Barer. The Mishnah Berurah and Siv Katan Amites says that if you have tea cents, you're allowed to put tea cents inside previously cooked tea. You could put inside a klisheni, or previously cooked milk. He says you could put inside a klisheni. So yes, the obvious kasha. Why do you have to tell me I could put previously cooked milk inside a klisheni? Put straight inside a klisheni milk, non-cooked milk. If you really hold that there's no difference. So l'chayra, the Mishnah Berurah Shita seems to be quite clear that once the liquid is previously cooked, you can put it in a klisheni. But if the liquid is not previously cooked, then you can't put it inside a klisheni. Now, Abaisai, the grass is not like this. The grass is not like this. Now, what do you want? What's the pshat in the grass? The grass is mefurish, yesh la'achmir, and all of them except for liquids, huad in shar mashkin. Now, if you look in the grass, he is clearly learning pshat in Shulchan Aruch and Sif Yud Gimel, that when the Shulchan Aruch says you could take a drink, you could put a hefsek kli, you could take like a baby bottle, and you could put inside there any drink and put it in. I told you it's not muchach. Maybe because a klisheni could still really maybe be mavashal shar liquids, but when it has a hefsek kli, so then that's already too difficult to be mavashal shar liquids. It's mitzad the hefsek kli. He says no, there's no such thing as a hefsek kli, and therefore he says klar. The grass, that when the Shulchan Aruch and Sif Yud Gimel said that you could put a hefsek kli, you could take a baby bottle and put it inside a klisheni, and it said over there you could put inside your apple juice or milk or anything. It was lav dafka with a hefsek kli. And he learns you can put any liquid inside a klisheni. That's a shita of the Balatanya. The shaila is, what are you going to do with the Mishnah Berurah? Right? Yes, this is Rabbi Lieberman asked the question. It's such an interesting thing that comes out. It's like a paradox. Iroi is only mavashal klipa, but the klisheni that could be mavashal. Where chayshish it could be mavashal even more, right? Because that's taka. It's true, I guess, because it sits in there. But Akaban, that's what it says. You have to work that out, but that's what it seems to say over here. But Rabbi, it's obviously only if the resultant mixture is going to be a yatzaledis, but otherwise nothing to discuss. Now, Baisai, but upon him, the Mishnah Berurah ended yesterday with a very big kasha. Whoever has the answer to this question, he's now going to get 150 shekel because the teretz that I was going to try today failed, and therefore we are teretzless. So therefore, and Rabbi Shlisselfeld, you won't have to work anymore. This is your chance, right? And Rabbi Buchler, this is your chance. You can turn around and use your easy pass and go right back over the bridge, because if you get the answer to this question, so then you're covered for the day at least, right? Now, Baisai, I don't know. Manoimar, Manadaber, Manitstadik, Nach Besedracheinu, V'nach Kaira. Mishnah Berurah is Taket Sarchi and Gadol. Mishnah Berurah says that the only things we saw yesterday, the Shartzin Tiv Katan Samaches, he says the only things that don't cook in a klisheni are water, mayim, and shemen. He says mayim and shemen, they don't cook in a klisheni. Mayim and shemen. How do I know that? He says kidale kaman, like later on in the siman. Later in the siman, you're going to see first that water doesn't cook in a kli sheni and that oil does not cook in a kli sheni. Where do you see water doesn't cook in a kli sheni later in the siman? So we just said, it says later on in the siman that you can't take cold water and put it in an ambati kli sheni, some big bath of kli sheni, because there the water is so incredibly hot that either it cooks it or it at least looks like it cooks it or something. And therefore you can't take water and put it into an incredible hot kli sheni of the size of a bath. But it's obviously clear that you could take water and put it into a small cup of kli sheni. So it's mefurish in the Mishnah Berurah and the Shulchan Aruch. You can take water and put it inside a kli sheni. That's mefurish in the Mishnah Berurah and the Shulchan Aruch, and everywhere you're allowed to take cold water and put it inside a kli sheni. We spoke b'shaita. You don't even have to be machmir klapa the yad nichvis shaila. That's mefurish in the siman. Where is it mefurish in the siman that you can take oil and put in a kli sheni? So before you waste your time, it's not mefurish. You'll look in the whole entire siman Shin Yuches, you will not find it. You'll find it in one place. You'll find in Sif Yud Gimel. In Sif Yud Gimel, it says that if you take a baby bottle or any bottle and you put a shar liquid, any other mashkin, and you put it inside a kli sheni, it says it's mutter. Now, that's the only place there's a remez in the entire siman to a different liquid being placed in a kli sheni, and it's mutter. Now, we know how the Graz learned Sif Yud Gimel. The Graz, when he learned Sif Yud Gimel, he said the baby bottle is not the Iker Nakuda over here. The point of the sif over here, the reason we needed a baby bottle, Rabbi side, the Mishnah Berurah already explains. The Mishnah Berurah says, why do we need, I keep calling it a baby bottle because that's a common case, but why did we need the case of the hefsek kli? Why did the Shulchan Aruch and Sif Yud Gimel say that you could take a baby bottle and put it in a kli sheni, but not in a kli rishon? You know what the Mishnah Berurah says? He says, the chiddush of the bottle is to teach us, says the Mishnah Berurah and Siv Katan Pei Aleph, that don't think, sorry, it just moved. Siv Katan Pei Vav. No, it moved again? Yeah, Pei Vav. Mishnah Berurah says in Siv Katan Pei Vav, the reason why we talk about a case of a baby bottle is because of the chiddush of the ratio. That don't think if it's in a baby bottle, maybe I could put it in a kli rishon. Kamash Malon, that when it's in a baby bottle, you still can't put it in a kli rishon. But says the Mishnah Berurah, but the seifa that says the baby bottle is lavdavka. There, when it says you could take a baby bottle with shar mashkim and put it in a kli sheni, it means you could always put a baby bottle or any liquid in a kli sheni. And now you understand pshat in the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says later in the siman, you're going to see that you could take any water or oil and put it inside a kli sheni. Where's that? That's in Sif Yud Gimel. In Sif Yud Gimel, it talks about a baby bottle, like we explained. The baby bottle is only trying to teach me a chumrah, that you can't go and put the baby bottle in a kli rishon. But when it came to kli sheni, so avada, you could put any liquid inside a kli sheni. So this Mishnah Berurah sounds like you could put oil, milk, uncooked milk, all in a kli sheni. V'tzarech in gadol, because the Mishnah Berurah is not like this, because he talked about uncooked milk. The only thing he let you put inside a kli sheni was uncooked milk, and I don't have a teretz on this, Rabbi Isai. This is a tzarech in gadol. Now, oil is definitely not kali bishul, Rabbi Spire. And I saw different terutzim. The Megillah Sefer wants to say a teretz. All types of strange terutzim. I saw Rabbi Isai Gewalt. I saw some terutzim. They say, no, the Mishnah Berurah is worried about, really, it's true. It doesn't cook, but there's a problem of mechsi. So then why is oil not a mechsi? Because oil is a tavlin. Why is it a tavlin? Because you never eat the oil by itself. It's only a spice. It's only giving a taste. No, and the milk in my coffee, why is that not a tavlin? It's tzarech in gadol. I have no avon on this. And I tried to do tshuva, but I'm thinking that it might be the cause of one of the oilam who did not do tshuva yet. And therefore, I ask all of you, please, to please do tshuva, right? Or your apachis, your wives, somebody here has to do tshuva, because I don't know the answer to this question. In the meantime, if somebody asks me, pasteurized milk for sure you could put inside a kli sheni, right? If somebody's going to ask me, can I take uncooked lemon juice and put it inside a kli sheni? I'm going to tell him that the Balatanya is meiko, and I'm going to tell him that Dayan Padva said that he did it. I'm going to tell him Dayan Padva said he did it, and I'm going to tell him that my natiya is that there's a makom to be meiko, because I read kli sheni in the first place is a chumrah. Okay, the whole klisheni is a chumrah. And there are achreinim that say that even when we're machmir on a klisheni, but we're not machmir on other liquids that are not previously cooked. Okay, and therefore it's a sfeika, it's a double chumrah, and therefore my leiv tells me that there is yes a makom to be makel. My leiv tells me there's a makom to be makel. But what should I tell you? I don't know. It's Hilchos Shabbos, Rabbi say. And if the tzlach says the words that it's a suffix skila, so then there's also a makom to be machmir. There's also a makom to be machmir. You have moira to be makel in public, to be makel on such a thing. I don't think you have to tell people this. I don't think if you see somebody taking lemon juice, which is cooked, or you don't have to start checking the lemon juice and seeing if it's uncooked, and then telling them they can't put it in a klisheni. But I must tell you that I do have pachad. I am scared of this halacha, and therefore, what should I tell you? Especially, I don't know. Rafalk is machmir, Rabbi Lieberman. Rafalk in the page in the Sefer Zachar V'Shamar, the 150th page, he's machmir on the shaila. Okay, upon him. I don't know. I'm just thinking a minute. No, it's mamash and pella. I don't know. It's a pella. I don't know. We need the schus of Rav Aaron Karliner. His yard site is today, Taka. We need the schus, maybe. I don't know. But maybe you never know what can happen. Rabbi said by the end of this year, somebody might have done tshuva, and I don't know. Maybe by then we'll be okay. I don't know. Right? Yeah, Rabbi Slansky's asking why if the mishabura is a stira, why can't we be saying on the grass? Right? I don't know. If I say Hilchos Shabbos, the tzlach in the Neidav Yehuda, he says that. The Neidav Yehuda, he says that. I mean, you read the Neidav Yehuda and Even Ezer and his Koyach Hakula. Yet when it came to Hilchos Shabbos, he was pachad chodim. He had such pachad. How could anybody take a risk? I don't know. Okay, let's go weiter. I'm just going to get depressed. Let me get weiter. Is Rabbi saying that's a chayur number one. Now, number two is what do you say, Rabbi say? Do you have you have koyach for psalil alumnus? What do you say, Rabbi say? You guys have koyach for alumnus? What do you say? No, Rabbi Siegel? No? Rabbi Danziger, what? We're going to take you back to the days by yeshiva days, no? Shake you back, all right. All right, let's get to work. I have a Rambam. Listen to an interesting Rambam. Obviously, we're going to get to something in halacha, which I find very intriguing over here. But this is let's get to a Rambam a second, right? Two. You guys have kaiches for lamdas or no? Who knows? Maybe b'schus the lamdas. Who knows? Maybe b'schus the lamdas will be zaycha taka to have a havana in taka that which we didn't understand before. Derech agav, I should say one thing about the previous sugya. I should say one thing is that the klapi the shaila that I spoke about yesterday. I should mention this halacha l'maisa. But klapi the shaila, are we machmir on the shaila of kli rishon that is not yad saledis by? Kli rishon that's not yad saledis by, are we machmir not to put things in? So I must tell you that Rabbi Slansky has to be machmir. The rest of us could be makel. But Rabbi Slansky has to be machmir because I saw from his reaction that the Balatanya means so much to him. And he wants to know, how come we can't be samech on the Balatanya when it comes to taking an uncooked milk and putting it inside, the coffee and whatever? So you should know that the Graz in Sif Yud Zayin says that it's toiv limnoya. He was machmir on the shaila that the Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan say not to be machmir on. The Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan say that you don't have to be machmir, and once it's under Yad Saledis by the Kli Rishon, you're allowed to put anything inside. And they went not like the Yam Shloimeh. We said the Yam Shloimeh might only be going in blias and kashrus anyways. But the Graz, the Balatanya, has such an incredible chumrah over here that he says that when the Kli Rishon is under Yad Saledis by, he says still don't put inside tavlin kedei to make a harchakas. Unbelievable thing. When it came to a Kli Sheni, the Graz wasn't scared at all. He was putting in unpasteurized milk. He didn't care. When it came to a Kli Rishon, he was so scared he wasn't even putting things in that when it wasn't Yad Saledis by. So Rabbi Slansky, you must be machmer on that shaila. Right, even though the Reb Kiveger and the Goin and the Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan and the Yad Yehuda says mutter legamre ve'ein lahachmir klal, but you have to be machmer on this. And lemaisa, Rabbi Elbaz, if you say another word, you're also going to have to be machmer, because the Ben Ish Chai in Parshas Bay and Sif Tetzis also says that it's toivli zayer and not to put anything into a Kli Rishon Kolzman, that it's, I guess he means Kolzman that it's warm and hot. Obviously, if it's not hot or warm at all, then you don't have to be machmir. The rest of us, we could be makel on that shaila. But you guys have koyach for lamdas? Where did my notes go? Where did the notes go? Oh, here they are. Right, you guys have shaila koyach for lamdas? What do you say? So in your daya, the chachmas adam is taka machmir. Klapa your daya, if you want to know if somebody could, b'di'evet should he be machmir on that shaila that we spoke about with, a non-yad saledis by kli rishon, does it have blias? So we had a lot of tzirufim yesterday. You're wondering why did it have so many need for tzirufim? Why are we machmir on that shaila at all? Because it's true the Yad Yehuda says it's mutal l'gamrei vein lahachmir, and it's true that Aruch HaShulchan seems to be makel, but the Chachmas Adam, which is really the Iker Sefer that we have in Hilchos Yeridei in general, he was machmer on the Shaila. He's machmer at least klape a klipa's worth. So therefore I am nervous, at least in Yeridei, I'm a little bit more nervous, and therefore I required all those sirufim before I was makel. But Akapanim in Hilchos Shabbos, so Shimon, you could be makel on the Shaila, but I think that Rabbi Slansky has to be machmer. Okay. Akapanim, that's l'chayr. Now, Rabbi say, let's see a Rambam. You have koyach for a Rambam, Rabbi say? Whoever's listening to my first Seder stuff knows that I'm involved now in Rambam Hilchos Deis. This is like, what's on the table here. So I had an interesting Rambam over here. Listen to a Rambam. This is the kasha I was thinking last night. Listen to the interesting kasha. The Rambam says, ha'oifa. That's our sugya. The Rambam in Perek Tes in Hilchos Shabbos. You're about to go back to the yeshiva days, Rabbi say. Ha'oifa k'graigeris is chayiv. How much of if you cook already a graigeris worth of schnitzel, yechayiv. Then the Rambam says, "Hamachamim es amayim." If you heat up water, it's chayiv. Okay, you heat up water is chayiv. How much is the amount that it's considered to be heated up that it's a problem? No. So the Rambam's shita that we know already, the Rambam's shita is yad saledis by. Yad saledis by. That's already called cooking, and that's already bishul. That's the Rambam's shita because the Rambam holds anyways. Maybe Michael ben Drusai is called fully cooked, but that's the Rambam's shita. Listen to a Rambam. The Rambam says, how much is the amount that I have to cook water to be over? One drop? Well, one drop is going to maybe be a chati shir. But how much am I chayiv? How much is the person chayiv chatis? How much is he chayiv skila? How much water if you cook up? Not in the eichos, not in the quality, if Michael ben Drusai, Yad Saledis, but in the quantity. How much water do you have to cook? No, it's like one of these things that we never because we think to ourselves, what's it son again? But listen what the Rambam says. The Rambam says, Kidei l'chaitz behem aver cotton. The amount to cook, the quantity of that you could wash your aver cotton. Okay, does he mean this pinky? Or does he mean the one on the toe, which I prefer not to show you right now? A calloused toe. But, which one does he mean? Lo barur. I don't know how to say lo chashuv, but lo barur. But that's what the Rambam says. But I had a kasha. Listen to my kasha. My kasha is a he's trying to tell you the Halakha Rambam how much water, the quantity of water is that if you cook it up, you're going to be chayiv kares. It doesn't matter because we all do your chati shir asar Torah anyways, right? But it's the amount to go and heat up water to wash an aver cotton. Okay? Rabbi, what's the amount of bishul now in quality to be chayiv in bishul? So I just told you, yad saledis by. Rabbi, it's very interesting. When I want to wash my body, should I be using yad saledis by water? So L'maisa, I told you many times that avada it's possible, and we're going to see the shiurim 125 degrees, 130 degrees, 140 degrees. Certainly, your mikveh could definitely be that hot. But Rabbi say, listen to a Rambam. The Rambam is in Hilchos Deis. The Rambam in Mada. The Rambam says over here, he tells you how to take a shower. I love this. The Rambam tells you how to take a shower, and the Rambam says when it comes to taking a shower, so he says when it comes to your head, it should be water that's boiling hot. Mamish boiling hot water for your head. But he says that's all on the head. Roishay bilvad. But the rest of your guf, poishrim. And not only that, after poishrim, wash it off in cold water. But he says, never use yad saledis by water to wash your body. Whereas in Hilchos Deis, dalid tesayin. So I have a kasha on the Rambam. No, steer in the Rambam. The Rambam, when he wants to tell me what's considered a chashuva type of a cooking of water, what's considered a cooking that's considered you did a valuable type of a cooking? The Rambam tells me the amount of how much water I need to cook in order to go and wash my pinky. Rabbi say, why then is the shear Yatzaledis by? You know what the shear should be? The shear shouldn't be Yatzaledis by. It should be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It shouldn't be 120 degrees. Let's say Yatzaledis was 120 degrees. I don't want to get involved now. Mitzvah Shem, tomorrow we'll go into that. Right? But let's say the amount is Yatzaledis by 120 degrees. The Rambam, if you would ask the Rambam, is that a normal way? This is the guy who wrote the Sefer, Rabbi said. It's the same guy. If you would ask the Rambam, is that a chashuv amount of cooking up the water? The Rambam would tell you, no way, that's a ridiculous amount. What are you trying to kill the guy? The Rambam should have said that the amount when it comes to Bishul is 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Because that's a to'eles when it comes to heating up water. Once you heated it up to 90 degrees, right, so then that's enough. Pella, no? Rabbi Lieberman, it's not important now which is the Aver cotton. It's not the ear. It's certainly not. It's either a pinky or a finger or whatever. It's not important right now. And anyways, the Rambam is talking about the head itself. He's not talking about the face. He's not talking about taking boiling hot water and putting it on your face and your ears. He means your head, where the brain is, where the seichel is. But upon him, this Rambam is an unbelievable. No, you guys like my shaila or no? You don't like the shaila. Who likes the shaila? You like the shaila? No, Shimon, you don't like my shaila? What, do you have a teretz? No, if you have a good teretz, I'll give you a 50 shekel. No, let me hear. You have a teretz? No? You have a teretz? No, who has a teretz? Anyone? No one has a teretz. No, by Siegel, you like my kasha? No, it's like a kasha in a Rambam, no? No, and it's also the kind of kasha you guys could ask at the table to Balbatim and Zach, if the Rambam in Day is a Gishmak, Rambam Hilchos Shabbos, Gishmak, that's good. So what do you say? So I mamish looked everywhere for this child. Where did I look when I say I looked everywhere? I went to the back of the Frankel Rambams and I figured he'll do my job for me. And no one asked the kasha. So I figured I must be making a mistake. And with such a wonderful simcha, I see that the Shvisis Shabbos asks my kasha. I love that sefer. Rav Meltzin, from the Talmidim of the Gaon, a Talmud of the Gaon. And he asked his kasha, he said, the Rambam is an absolute pella. He says, how can the Rambam, he asks it stam first misvara. He says, how can the Rambam say that the amount is the amount of heating up for an Aver cotton? He says, why aren't we talking about drinking? That should be the value, the chashivas of the amount to drink. How much is the chashiv amount to drink? And he says, V'aid, whatever the reason the Rambam wants to say, that's the chashivastic amount of washing, of boiling up hot water. But he says, but then it should be the amount that you would heat up when you're going to heat up that amount of water. So therefore we should change, and Rabbi said we shouldn't talk about Yatzaledis by anymore. We should say heating up water to the point of not Yatzaledis by, as long as that's the amount that you bathe yourself in, that's already has a chshivas to it. So the Shisa Shabbos, he says like 3 words. I'm going to try to explain it, but he says, Bekitzer, he says, the pula is not mishtana mayim, and the aleph base of Bishul is you have to make a shinoi in the mayim. This, Rabbi say, this Shisa Shabbos is the side that Rav Moshe taught us already in the beginning when we learned Bishul. And I'd like to explain it now because we have a Mishnah Brew over here that we could explain with this side. Rav Moshe taught us when we started Hilchos Bishul that Bishul is not a heat amount. It's not, 120 degrees, 140 degrees, right? It's not. It's a shinoi in the chefza. Remember, Rav Moshe taught us to that shoyel. He told Shimon Shron, Rabbi Shron's great uncle, he told him that when it comes to bishul of leaves, if you heat up leaves and you just dry them out, you didn't do a ma'aseh bishul b'chlal. If all you're doing is you're heating up the leaves, you didn't do a ma'aseh bishul b'chlal. You have to change the chefza. And he said, what's the raya that you have to change the chefza? Said the Goyin Rav Moshe, that when it comes to oil, says the Goyin Rav Moshe, the Gemara says if you heat up oil, there's a man to Amar, there's no bishul on oil b'chlal. He says, what are you talking about? Why? How could there be a man to Amar that there's no bishul on oil? Did the oil get hot? So he says, you see that bishul has nothing to do with heat and not heat. Obviously, you need heat in order to be over on bishul. But he says, bishul is not, did it get hot? Bishul is that there's a certain change that kimle lechazal, that al yedei heat, it changed it, and that chazal considered it to be a different chefza. Al yedei the heat, that's called bishul. So therefore we can hear, when it comes to oil, the fact that you made the oil hot, but there's one mandamar that says heating up the oil didn't do a change to it. It didn't turn it into a different chefza. And he says, who are them tea leaves? If you bake these tea leaves, so then you didn't do anything to it. They're just dried tea leaves. There was no change that occurred over here. And that's where Moshe wanted to talk about the bones, if you remember. That's first of all what the Shvisis Shabbos is saying over here. He's saying, if you make water warm, then that's not called Bishul B'chlal. if you take water and you just make it warm, there's no change. That for sure is not called change. When is it called a change? Only when you've achieved Yad Saledispai. In other words, my question was, but you did something that has a benefit because now you heated it up to the point of where you could wash the Aver cotton. It's true, it has a benefit, but you didn't do Bishul. You didn't do any change. Taking water and heating it up before Yad Saledispai is not called that you made a shinoi in the water. That's first of all. And with this Rabbi say, it's a davar nifla now because listen to this. This is very interesting. We just said halacha at the beginning of the shir that if you take cold water, listen to this. It's a geschmack azach. When you take cold water and you put it into hot water on a kli rishon. So we saw that if the resultant mixture is not going to be yad saledispai, so we saw it's mutter. Okay? Listen to this. Comes again the Mishnah Berurah in Siv Kotin Pei Gimel, and he says, if you're pouring in cold water into chamim, it's mutter. Why? Because the resultant mixture is not going to be yatzaledis. Ayin chayadam. Zok the Mishnah Berurah. Go and look in the chayadam Siv Kotin Pei Gimel. Shekasav. That when you take cold water and you put it into hot water, you have to do it b'shvicha gedayla. And you're pouring in cold water into hot water. You have to do it fast. You have to pour it in all at once. It means in a constant flow. Why? But if you do it little by little, it's aser. Says Mishnah Berurah, why? Because if I'm going to pour in little drops at a time, I have a big thing, a kli rishon, boiling hot water, and I pour in a little drop, and then another little drop, and then another little drop. So then what happens? That drop got cooked, and that drop got cooked, and that drop got cooked, and then eventually, okay, so you cool down all this cooked water. So said the Mishnah Berurah, what do you have to do? You have to pour in you have to pour into the boiling hot water, the cold water, in a constant schwung, and therefore it doesn't give it a chance to get cooked. It right away cools it down. Listen to the Shartzian. Fact the Shartzian in Kufyud Aleph Akasha, Yesh La'ayin. He says, whoa. He says, I don't understand what's going on here. He says, things don't get cooked in a second. We know certainly from Kashrus, from Yeridea, it takes time to cook things. Says the Mishnah Berurah, or even when you put something on the fire, it doesn't get cooked miyad. Rabbi say, you take water, you put it on the fire, miyad it gets cooked. Rabbi say, you take a pot of water, even with a little bit of water, and you go and put it on the fire, miyad it gets cooked. It takes time to get cooked. So what are you talking about? He says, even though it gets mixed miyad, says the Mishnah Berurah, even though it gets mixed miyad, the water gets mixed miyad into the hot water, the cold water gets mixed miyad. He says, you're right, it's mixed, but it's not cooked. It's not cooked. That's the kasha of the Mishnah Berurah on the Chayada. Now, L'maisa, I got a saw in the Shvisa Shabbos. The Shvisa Shabbos is miyashiv the kasha. He's miyashiv the kasha of the Mishnah Berurah. And he says, Taka, a salad takes time to cook, but he says, but Mashain Kane, if you have like a liquid, and certainly if you have a drop, he says then it's very, since a liquid is something which isn't strong, it's very soft, it gets cooked very, very quickly. That's what the Shvisa Shabbos is miyashiv the kasha, right? But Rabbi say, first of all, I saw the Toises Rid. He says mefurish mamish like the Mishnah Berurah. The Toises Rid says you do not have to pour in the Toises Rid on the page in Shabbos and Daf Mem Beis. He says you do not have to pour in the cold water constant quickly. He says it takes time to cook. As long as so even if you pour it in, if the resultant mixture is going to be Yatzel Ledespai, it takes time to cook. So first of all, the Toises Rid agrees with the Mishnah Berurah. That's first of all. And second of all, Rabbi say, even the Shvisa Shabbos, he doesn't answer the Mishnah Berurah by saying, Rebbe, Mishnah Berurah, what are you talking about, Bichlal? Hooray, we see it's hot. What's the Mishnah Berurah's question, Bichlal? Hooray, when you take cold water and you put it into hot water, it's hot. So what's his kasha, the Mishnah Berurah? No, he says, you're right that it's true, Taka. It takes time for things to cook, but a liquid, especially if it's a drop, gets cooked very, very quickly. Rabbi say, do you know what it says over here? It says the davar nifla. Rabbi say, when you take cold water and you put it into hot water, avada taka, it takes time for something to cook. Why? It's yatzel ledespai. When I take the drops of the cold water and I put it into the kli rishon, it gets mixed and it becomes yatzel ledespai. The Mishnah Berurah will tell you, yes, it is yatzel ledespai, but it's not called cooked. Yes, the chiddush of Bishul is that when you take an item, you have to change the item by the heat. So the fact that you make it hot It hasn't yet changed. It takes time for that change to occur. Just like we saw a second ago, where Moshe taught us that when you have water, and it's only when you have tea leaves, it's not considered cooked because you didn't do anything. Bishul means to do a shinoi. And just like the Shvisa Shabbos told us, the fact that you warm up water and now it's usable to wash your body with, so that doesn't matter. That's not considered a valuable shinoi to be considered a bishul. Bishul means you change the water al yedei the heat. Taking water and turning it yad saledis by is not enough. It has to be that the water was changed al yedei becoming yad saledis by. Bishul means to make a shinoi in the item, and therefore. This is also the reason why Rabbi Moshe Feinstein Shita was that water, once it's yad saledis by, is called bishul. People cook it up to bubbling and everything. Who cares? The shinoi that it takes a place in water already takes place in yad saledis by. Now comes along the Mishnah Berurah with a Gevaldik Taina. Says the Mishnah Berurah, why then when I take cold water and I pour it into the boiling hot water, should I have to do it quickly? Says the Mishnah Berurah, I agree that if you put it in drop by drop, it's going to turn each drop into yad saledis by. I agree. But says the Mishnah Berurah, it's true it'll make it yad saledis by, but it takes time to do the bishul. It's true that when you take the cold water and you put it into the klirishin, so that you're gonna feel it and it's gonna be boiling hot. But that didn't make it bishul. Bishul's not just when I get the cold water up to yad saledis by, boom, it's bishul. It's that when it gets to yad saledis by, it changed the chefza. So I found the nace, I found the moifis, I found something that you have water that you put inside the klirishin, and the water got yad saledis by, but it didn't change yet because bishul takes a minute. Bishul takes time to do bishul. Says the Mishnah Berurah, I don't understand the chayadam. Therefore, if I pour in liquid and eventually the resultant mixture is going to be not yad saledis by, so then it's not the pshat like you think that it cooked it and then it cooled it down. No, it got to yad saledis by, but it didn't have enough time to do a bishul. And even on the teretz, what did the Shvisa Shabbos answer to the chayadam? The Shvisa Shabbos just answers the chayadam and saying, no, you're wrong, because a liquid gets cooked very fast. But he agrees that the fact that you're yad saledis by doesn't mean automatic you're called bishul. Bishul means that you have to change the chefzer, Rabbi Isai. And Rabbi Isai, I'm going to bring you a raya brua, which is going to put a smile on every one of your faces. And this is a kasha that you all must have had. Rabbi Isai, when I take a drop of cold water and I put it into a klisheni, one drop, ani mamin bemuna shlema, that is not called bishul. And if you argue on that, then you are a goy. Ani mamin bemuna shlema, that when you put cold water into the klisheni, it's not mevashel. And anyone who chaylik on that, you can't give him an aliyah in shul, and you can't say amen to his bracha, and I wouldn't even give him hagba. I wouldn't even give him hagba, because he's an apikoiris and he's a guy and he's chaylik on the Heilige Gemara. Because it doesn't say anywhere in Shas and Paiskim that if you take a drop of water, one tiny little drop of water, and you put her into a klisheni that it cooks. I'm not getting involved now in the yad nichvis by. Let's assume it's not yad nichvis and whatever, forgetting yad nichvis by. I got a hold, it wouldn't even matter if it's yad nichvis by, as you know. But it doesn't say anywhere in Kol HaTorah Kula that I can't take one dot of cold water and put it into a klisheni. Why? We all know that if you take one dot of cold water and you put it into a klisheni, for sure that dot is going to get boiling hot and yad saledis by. And if you're chaylik on that, you're chaylik on the mitzias. And if you're chaylik on the mitzias, you don't exist. So then it doesn't say anywhere in Kol Kula Tzasa. What's the answer? The answer is because bishul does not mean making something yad saledis by. Bishul means to change the chayfetz al yedei the heat. And ani mamin be'emuna shlema, that I don't know what is considered a change and what's not a change. Chazal were to megala to me that when I take water, the change that occurs when it goes into a klisheni is not enough of a change. That's it. It's going to be a yad saledis by. I don't care. I don't care. I am going to burn my finger. If you burn your finger, you're not be cursed. I don't care. Bishul of water, bishul of everything is what Chazal were conveying. So therefore, Rabbi say you're hearing from here. It's a davar nifla dikki yisayid. And Rabbi say it's mamish nifla now. Listen to a davar nifla. Rabbi say there's a machlekes when it comes to netilas yadayim. There's a machlekes when it comes to netilas yadayim. Are you allowed to wash your hands, netilas yadayim, from water that was yad saledis by and that it got cooled down? Okay? It's a very common case because it's freezing cold outside. So he wants to heat up. He wants to take water from the urn and he wants to use it to wash Netilas Yadayim or something like that. Obviously, he's not going to use water that's boiling hot and burn his hands. So he'll wait till it cools down. So are you allowed to use, when the water is Yatz Ledis by, you're not allowed to use it. It has to do with Hilchos Netilas Yadayim, Rabbi Danzinger. And that in Netilas Yadayim, there's a concept that the water that's Yatz Ledis by is already called a Shinoi, Ayin in the Gemara in Chulin and Daf Kuvav, I think it was. And you're not allowed to use water like that for Netilas Yadayim. What about when the water cooled down? It was once Yatz Ledis by, you're allowed to use that water. Now, La Lacha, we paskin that you are, but that's not the ikar what I'm trying to bring out. There's a Rashi in Chulin that says that if the water was heated up to Yatz Ledis and now cooled down, you're not allowed to use the water for Netilas Yadayim. You got it, we paskin that you are allowed to, but there is a shita like that. The Shar at Sian in Kufnan Tats and Hilchos Netilas Yadayim, he brings a prima godim, and he says, what's the pshat? What would be the tzad that you're not allowed to use such water? He says, because once it got to Yatz Ledis by, it's nishtan of the water, nifla. What are you seeing over here? You're seeing that when you take water and cook it up to Yatz Ledis by, there's a shinui that's taking place. Now, there's a chiddush over here. No problem, we'll be done in 2 minutes. Now, there's a chiddush over here that when you take the water and it was heated up to Yatz Ledis, we paskin that the shinui goes away once it cooled down. But there was a tzad in the Gemara that when the water got to Yatz Ledis by, so then what's the halacha? Right? What's the halacha? That even when it cooled down, it was called that it has undergone a shinui. So everybody's like, this is the aside that Rav Moshe Feinstein is always telling us, that once water got to Yatz Ledis by, it's changed. What happens there? Kim leila chazal. Maybe it murdered the bacteria, maybe something else. But this is the aside of Bishul. And see, we're going to have to stop, but this is the aside of Bishul. Just to make a long story short, Tachlis, what did you learn today? You learned today that could you put an uncooked liquid? First of all, you learned don't drink the Starbucks in the stores. Okay, that's one thing you learned, right? But you learned today that if you want to know, can I take a liquid and put it into a klisheni? The halacha is that there's certainly a makom to be makel, but it's not kedai. It's not kedai unless it's water or oil, but it's not kedai unless it's unless it was a previously cooked liquid. It's not kedai to steer in the Mishnah Berurah, and we don't have an answer, and whoever has an answer will be wealthy. That's one thing that we learned. Then we learned that if you take water and you pour it into the opposite, boiling water into cold water into the klirishin, it's mutter if the resultant mixture is going to be a Yatz Ledis we spoke out. And it's mutter to pour boiling hot water on the actual kli. And then we learned at the end the Heilige Rambam. The Heilige Rambam told us that the shear for Bishul, the amount that it's considered Bishul, the Rambam told us is the amount for the washing of an Aver cotton. To washing, but the Rambam also holds it's Yatz Ledis. But the Rambam tells us don't take your pinky and wash it in Yatz Ledis. The answer is, why don't we just say that the shear is when you heat it up to 90 degrees with the amount that you're going to, because that's not called Bishul. Bishul means you have to change the chefza. And just like we see by oil, there's a mandamar that even when it's hot, it's not called Bishul. And just like Rav Moshe told us that water is called Bishul at Yatz Ledis, like we saw in the Pri Megadim in the Shartzian, because it was changed at that point of Yatz Ledis by Kim Leila Chazal. And that's why when you take a drop of water and you put it inside a klisheni, ani mamin bemuna shlema, that it's not going to cook that water, because even though it made it hot into Yatz Ledis by, it doesn't make a difference. And just like we saw in the Mishnah Berurah that he didn't understand the Chayadam, because when you take water, he says let it go slowly because it takes time to mivashal. It's Yatz Ledis by. The fact that it's Yatz Ledis by doesn't mean it would undergone the change of being this bashal. So ani mamin bemuna shlema, that bishul is a process that has to take place, and it's not just enough that you got it up to the heat. Ani mamin beyemuna shlema. Ani mamin beyemuna shlema. Ani mamin that it takes a shinui to turn water to be mevushal.